I was a younger man, I actually worked in a retail warehouse-based setting for a certain amount of time. Little did I know that the periods of time there would have been some of the best in my life due to the people that I had met and circumstances that I later found myself in as a result of the time there. These stories are some of the memories of mine that I recollected from then, in no particular order from when they had occurred. Work during the summer at the warehouse was something that I excelled at. There were times that the weather became hot and almost unhealthy to be in it, but the company always had customers in the outside landscaping area, so I in particular was eager to be out there, especially when compared to the inside landscaping area where customers tended to be during those summer months. What I remember is that for that particular week it was a heat wave, and there were actually workers who didn't come in for their shift because they didn't want to deal with the weather, or the customers who came into the warehouse regardless of the weather situation. I had an early morning shift one day during the week to come out into the warehouse on a swelteringly hot early morning. I wasn't particularly excited about that, but at least I knew that most of it would have been spent without handling much customers. Getting to the warehouse, the entire facility was air conditioned as usual, but not a lot of people were in it so early in the morning. I managed to gather my gear and proceed to head towards the outdoor landscaping area. When I got to the doors that divided the interior and exterior landscaping areas, they opened automatically and I was hit with a wall of musky, hot, damp air. For a moment I felt both hot and cold at the same time. From what I remember, that's a feeling that I'd never truly had gotten adjusted to during my time at the warehouse. Looking around outside, there was no one to be seen. I just stood around by myself for a few moments, and I figured that I'd be spending the entire early morning by myself. Usually, opening by yourself isn't as good as some might make it out to be, because even if you find things to do, they get done quickly, and then you're just left there being bored out of your mind, waiting for anything to do. Even management wasn't there, so I didn't have to pretend to do any work, as I just decided to get a hose and walked over to where the plants were stored and left on display for customers to buy. There were times that I just turned off the water and just stood there not doing anything. Even though my day would end before most of the customers had come in, there were still the bouts of boredom that I had to go against. Some time had passed, and eventually I heard the automated doors open and out came Daryl. I blinked my eyes a bit when I saw him. It was actually good to see anyone, especially him, as he greeted me, and I later explained that it was a seriously slow morning. He shook his head and mentioned that that was actually a good thing. We had each other's company to help pass the time further. Soon we began to water the plants together, and during our conversation caught up on things. We went around the exterior landscaping area and watered all of the plants. Once the plants were all watered, we decided to take a break, as Darrow was the older gentleman and needed a rest, so we stopped and looked around. By now, customers were slowly drifting into the exterior landscaping area from the main warehouse. We decided to stay where we were for a moment before we then tended to the customers' needs. Eventually, the exterior landscaping area was decently full of people. It ended up being one of those days where there were plenty of customers on plenty of things to do. As I checked the time, and my shift was nearly done, but I didn't feel right leaving Daryl as the only worker in the exterior landscaping area. I knew that there would be other people coming in, but that would be a little bit later on from that time right then and there. So I decided to head over to where he was, and he had just finished helping a customer, and I told him that I was going to stay a little bit more to help him. He nodded as Daryl mentioned that he actually needed an extra hand out there for this particular day, and at the same time I'd get some extra pay for my efforts. It actually got rather busy, and as soon as I was helping customers, I saw that other people were in the interior landscaping area, and I knew that Daryl had some coverage and I could leave. After letting him know that I was heading out for the day, he mentioned that he greatly appreciated the help that I gave him, as I then decided to head back along the exterior of the warehouse to go through the main entrance to clock out from my shift. It was a maneuver that we occasionally did when we wanted to leave without encountering customers. I later learned that Daryl was often alone in the outside landscaping area during those summer months back then, as I was one of the few who had actually helped him. I couldn't help but feel a bit sad, but that's how work at the warehouse was at times.